Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Novel Study. We're still reading Holes. This is part 3. Today we are going to read up to chapter 12. So we got about 15 pages to get through. As you have noticed, my green screen came in. I wish I could show you guys real quick. Actually, one second. And then I get rid of that. And that's what it looks like. It's just kind of sitting here. It's chilling. Really easy to set up, but I'm excited because now I get to have fun backgrounds. So today we got the fireplace in the background, and I'm on the big stage. So hope you guys enjoy. I hope it's not too distracting. I'm still wearing the cap by popular demand. Mainly Mrs. Collins telling me to wear the cap, but that's okay. I think it works. All right, here we go. Chapter 8. Grab your snacks, grab your drinks, sit back, relax, and here we go. Chapter 8. A lot of people don't believe in curses. A lot of people don't believe in yellow-spotted lizards either, but if one bites you, it doesn't make a difference whether you believe in it or not. Actually, it is kind of odd that scientists named the lizard after its yellow spots. Each lizard has exactly 11 yellow spots, but the spots are hard to see on its yellow-green body. The lizard is from 6 to 10 inches long and has big red eyes. In truth, its eyes are yellow, and it's the skin around the eyes which is red. But everyone always speaks of its red eyes. It also has black teeth and a milky white tongue. Looking at one, you would have thought that it should have been named a red-eyed lizard or a black-toothed lizard or perhaps a white-tongued lizard. If you've ever been close enough to see the yellow spots, you are probably dead. The yellow-spotted lizard likes to live in holes, which offer shade from the sun and protection from predatory birds. Up to 20 lizards may live in one hole. They have strong, powerful legs and can leap out of very deep holes to attack their prey. They eat small animals, insects, certain cactus thorns, and the shells of sunflower seeds. End of chapter 8. On to chapter 9. Stanley stood in the shower and let the cold water pour over his hot and sore body. It was 4 minutes of heaven. For the second day in a row, he didn't use soap. He was too tired. There was no roof over the shower building, and the walls were raised up 6 inches off the ground, except in the corners. There was no drain in the floor. The water ran out under the walls and evaporated quickly in the sun. He put on his clean set of orange clothes. He returned to his tent, put his dirty clothes in his crate, got out his pen and box of stationery, and headed to the rec room. A sign on the door said rec room, but it was spelled W-R-E-C-K, room. Nearly everything in the room was broken: the TV, the pinball machine, the furniture. Even the people looked broken, with their worn-out bodies sprawled over the various chairs and sofas. X-Ray and Armpit were playing pool. The surface of the table reminded Stanley of the surface of the lake. It was full of bumps and holes because so many people had carved their initials into the felt. There was a hole in the far wall and an electric fan had been placed in front of it. Cheap air conditioning. At least the fan worked. As Stanley made his way across the room, he tripped over an outstretched leg. "Hey, watch it," said an orange lump on a chair. "You watch it," muttered Stanley, too tired to care. "What'd you say?" the lump demanded. "Nothing," said Stanley. The lump rose. He was almost as big as Stanley and a lot tougher. "You said something." He poked his fat finger in Stanley's neck. "What'd you say?" A crowd quickly formed around them. "Be cool," said X-Ray. He put his hands on Stanley's shoulder. "You don't want to mess with the caveman," he warned. "The caveman's cool," said Armpit. "I'm not looking for trouble," Stanley said. "I'm just tired, that's all." The lump grunted. X-Ray and Armpit led Stanley over to a couch. Squid slid over to make room as Stanley sat down. "Did you see the caveman back there?" X-Ray asked. "The caveman's one tough dude," said Squid, and he lightly punched Stanley's arm. Stanley leaned back against the torn vinyl upholstery. Despite his shower, his body still radiated heat. "I wasn't trying to start anything," he said. The last thing he wanted to do after killing himself all day on the lake was get in a fight with a boy called the Caveman. He was glad X-Ray and Armpit had come to his rescue. "Well, how'd you like your first hole?" asked Squid. Stanley groaned, and the other boys laughed. "Well, the first hole's the hardest," said Stanley. "No way," said X-Ray. "The second hole's a lot harder. You're hurting before you even get started. If you think you're sore now, just wait and see how you feel tomorrow morning, right?" "That's right," said Squid. "Plus, the fun's gone," said X-Ray. "The fun?" asked Stanley. "Don't lie to me," said X-Ray. "I bet you always wanted to dig a big hole, right? Am I right?" Stanley never really thought about it before, but he knew better than to tell X-Ray he wasn't right. "Every kid in the world wants to dig a great big hole," said X-Ray. "To China, right?" "Right," said Stanley. "See what I mean?" said X-Ray. That's what I'm saying. But now the fun's gone. And you still got to do it again and again and again. Can't fun and games, said Stanley. What's in the box? Asked Squid. Stanley forgot he brought it. Paper. I was going to write a letter to my mother. Your mother? Laughed Squid. She'll worry if I don't. Squid scowled. Stanley looked around the room. This was the one place in camp where the boys could enjoy themselves. And what'd they do? They wrecked it. The glass on the TV was smashed as if someone put his foot through it. Every table and chair seemed to be missing at least one leg. Everything leaned. He wanted to write the letter until after Squid had gotten up and joined the game of pool. Dear Mom, today was my first day at camp and I've already made some friends. We've been out on the lake all day, so I'm pretty tired. Once I pass the swimming test, I'll get to learn how to water ski. He stopped writing as he became aware that somebody was reading over his shoulder. He turned to see Zero standing behind the couch. I don't want her to worry about me, he explained. Zero said nothing. He just stared at the letter with a serious, almost angry look on his face. Stanley slipped it back into the stationery box. Did the shoes have red X's on the back? Zero asked him. It took Stanley a moment, but then he realized Zero was asking about Clyde Livingston's shoes. Yes, they did, he said. He wondered how Zero knew that. Brand X was a popular brand of speakers. Maybe Clyde Livingston made a commercial for them. Zero stared at him for a moment with the same intensity which he had been staring at the letter. Stanley poked his finger through the hole in the vinyl couch and pulled out some stuffing. He wasn't aware of what he was doing. Come on, caveman, dinner, said Armpit. You coming, caveman? Said Squid. Stanley looked around to see that Armpit and Squid were talking to him. Sure, he said. He put the piece of stationery back in the box and then got up and followed the boys out to the tables. The lump wasn't caveman. He was. He shrugged his left shoulder. It was better than being barf big. All right, into chapter 9. 2 more chapters. Stanley had no trouble falling asleep, but morning came much too quickly. Every muscle and joint in his body ached as he tried to get out of bed. He didn't think it was possible, but his body hurt more than it had the day before. It wasn't just his arms and back, but his legs, ankles, and waist also hurt. The only thing that got him out of bed was knowing that every second he wasted meant he was 1 second closer to the rising sun. He hated the sun. He could hardly lift the spoon during breakfast, and then he was out on the lake, his spoon replaced by a shovel. He found a crack in the ground and began his second hole. He stepped on the shovel blade and pushed on the very back of the shaft with the base of his thumb. This hurt less than trying to hold the shaft with his blistered fingers. As he dug, he was careful to dump the dirt far away from the hole. He needed to save the area around the hole for when his hole was much deeper. He didn't know if he could ever get that far. Actually, he was right. The second hole was the hardest. It would take a miracle. As long as the sun wasn't out yet, he removed his cap and used it to protect his hands. Once the sun rose, he would have it back on his head. His neck and forehead had been badly burned the day before. He took it one shovelful at a time and tried not to think of the awesome task that laid ahead of him. After an hour or so, his sore muscles seemed to loosen up a little bit. He grunted as he tried to stick his shovel into the dirt. His cap slipped out from under his fingers and the shovel fell free. He let it lie there. He took a drink from his canteen. He guessed that the water truck should be coming soon, but he didn't finish all the water just in case he was wrong. He learned to wait until he saw the truck before drinking the last drop. The sun wasn't up yet, but its rays arced over the horizon and brought light to the sky. He reached down to pick up his cap, and there next to it saw a wide, flat rock. As he put his cap on his head, he continued to look down at the rock. He picked it up. He thought he could see the shape of a fish, fossilized in it. He rubbed off some dirt, and the outline of a fish became clearer. The sun peeked over the horizon, and he could actually see tiny lines where every one of the fish's bones had been. He looked at the barren land all around him. True, everyone referred to this area as the lake, but it's still hard to believe that this dry wasteland was once full of water. Then he remembered what Mr. Sir and Mr. Pendanski had both said. If he dug up anything interesting, he should report it to one of them. If the warden liked it, he would get the rest of the day off. He looked back down on the fish. He found his miracle. He continued to dig, though very slowly, as he waited for the water truck. He didn't want to bring any attention to his find, afraid that one of the other boys might try to take it from him. He tossed the rock face down beside his dirt pile, as if it had no special value. A short while later, he saw the cloud of dirt heading across the lake. The truck stopped and the boys lined up. They always lined up in the same order, Stanley realized, no matter who got there first. Actually, he was always at the front of the line. Then came Armpit, Squid, Zigzag, Magnet, and Zero. Stanley got in line behind Zero. He was glad to be at the back so no one would notice the fossil. His pants had very large pockets, but the rock still made a bulge. Mr. Banansky filled each boy's canteen until Stanley was the only one left. I found something, Stanley said, taking it out of his pocket. Mr. Banansky reached for Stanley's canteen, but Stanley handed him the rock instead. What's this? It's a fossil, said Stanley. See the fish? Mr. Pendansky looked at it again. See, you can even see all of its little bones, said Stanley. Interesting, said Mr. Pendansky. Let me have your canteen. Stanley handed it to him. Mr. Pendansky filled it, then returned it. So do I get the rest of the day off? What for? You know, you said if I found something interesting, the warden would give me the day off. Mr. Pendansky laughed as he gave the fossil back to Stanley. Sorry, Stanley, the warden isn't interested in fossils. Let me see that, said Magnet, taking the rock from Stanley. Stanley continued to stare at Mr. Pendansky. Hey, Zig, dig this rock. Cool, said Zigzag. Stanley saw his fossil being passed around. I don't see nothing, said X-Ray. He took off his glasses, wiped them on his dirty clothes, and put them back on. See, look at this. Look at the little fishing, said Armpit. All right, that was the end of chapter 10. Got about 2.5 pages before 12. Stanley returned to his hole. It wasn't fair. Mr. Pendansky had even said his fossil was interesting. He slammed his shovel into the ground and pried up another piece of earth. After a while, he noticed X-Ray had come by and was watching him dig. Hey, caveman, let me talk to you a second, X-Ray said. Stanley put down his shovel and stepped out of his hole. Say, listen, said X-Ray. If you find something else, give it to me, okay? Stanley wasn't sure what to say. X-Ray was clearly the leader of the group, and Stanley didn't want to get on his bad side. You're new here, right? Said X-Ray. I've been here for almost a year. I never found anything. You know, my eyesight's not so good. No one knows this, but you know why my name's X-Ray? Stanley shrugged one shoulder. It's Pigland for Rex. That's all. I'm too blind to find anything. Stanley tried to remember how Pigland worked. I mean, X-Ray went on. Why should you get a day off when you've only been here a couple days? If anybody gets a day off, it should be me. That's only fair, right? I guess, Stanley agreed. X-Ray smiled. You're a good guy, caveman. Stanley picked up his shovel. The more he thought about it, the more he was glad he agreed to let X-Ray have anything he might find. If he was going to survive at Camp Green Lake, it was far more important that X-Ray think he was a good guy than it was for him to get one day off. Besides, he didn't expect to find anything anyway. There probably wasn't anything of interest out there, and even if there was, he'd never been what you could call lucky. He slammed his blade into the ground, then dumped out another shovelful of dirt. It was a little surprising, he thought, that X-Ray was the leader of the group, since he obviously wasn't the biggest or the toughest. In fact, except for Zero, X-Ray was the smallest. Armpit was the biggest. Zigzag may have been taller than Armpit, but that was only because of his neck. Yet Armpit and all the others seemed to be willing to do whatever X-Ray asked of them. As Stanley dug up another shovelful of dirt, it occurred to him that Armpit wasn't the biggest. He, the caveman, was bigger. He was glad they called him caveman. It meant they actually accepted him as a member of the group. Oh, sorry. He would have been glad if they called him Barfbag. It was really quite remarkable to him. At school, bullies like Derek Doon used to pick on him. Yet Derek Doon would be scared senseless by any of the boys here. As he dug his hole, Stanley thought about what it would be like if Derek Doon had to fight Armpit or Squid. Derek wouldn't stand a chance. He imagined what it'd be like if he became good friends with all of them, and then for some reason they all went with him to his school, and then Derek Doon tried to steal his notebook. Just what do you think you're doing? Asked Squid as he slams his hands into Derek Doon's smug face. Caveman's our friend, says Armpit, grabbing him by the shirt collar. Stanley played the scene over and over again in his mind, each time watching another boy from Group D beat up Derek Doon. It helped him dig his hole and ease his own suffering. Whatever pain he felt was being felt 10 times worse by Derek. That's the end of chapter 11. You know what? Chapter 12 isn't too long. I think we're going to do it today. Make it a nice few pages, and then we could pick up on 13 the following day. So on to chapter 12. Hope you guys are enjoying so far. Last chapter for the day. I promise I won't try to pull a fast one on you again. All right, here we go. Chapter 12. Again, Stanley was the last one to finish digging. It was late afternoon when he dragged himself back to the compound. This time he would have accepted a ride on the truck if it was offered. When he got to the tent, he found Mr. Pendansky and the other boys sitting in a circle on the ground. Welcome, Stanley, said Mr. Padansky. Hey, caveman, you get your hole dug? Asked Magnet. He managed to nod. You spit in it? Asked Squid. He nodded again. You're right, he said X-Ray. The second hole's the hardest. X-Ray shook his head. The third hole's the hardest, he said. Come join our circle, said Mr. Padansky. Stanley plopped down between Squid and Magnet. He needed to rest up before taking a shower. We've been discussing what we want to do with our lives, said Mr. Padansky. We're not going to be at Camp Green Lake forever. We need to prepare for the day we leave here and join the rest of society. Hey, that's great, Mom, said Magnet. They're going to finally let you out of here? The other boys laughed. Okay, Jose, said Mr. Padansky. What do you want to do with your life? I don't know, said Magnet. You need to think about that, said Mr. Padansky. It's important to have goals. Otherwise, you're going to end up right back in jail. What do you like to do? I don't know, said Magnet. You must like something, said Mr. Padansky. I like animals, said Magnet. Good, Mr. Padansky. Does anyone know of any jobs that involve animals? Veterinarian, said Arpit. That's right, said Mr. Padansky. He could work in a zoo, said Zigzag. He belongs in the zoo, said Squid. Then he and X-Ray laughed. How about you, Stanley? Any ideas for Jose? Stanley sighed. Animal trainer, he said? Like for the circus or movies or something like that? Any of those jobs sound good to you, Jose? Asked Mr. Padansky. Yeah, I like what Caveman said about training animals for movies. I think it would be fun to train monkeys. X-Ray laughed. Don't laugh, Rex, said Mr. Padansky. We don't laugh at people's dreams. Someone's going to have to train monkeys for the movies. Who are you kidding, Mom? Asked X-Ray. Magnet's never going to be a monkey trainer. You don't know that, said Mr. Padansky. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Nothing in life is easy. But that's no reason to give up. You'll be surprised what you can accomplish if you set your mind to it. After all, you only have one life, so you should try to make the most of it. Stanley tried to figure out what he'd say if Mr. Padansky asked him if he wanted to do with his life. He used to think he wanted to work for the FBI, but this didn't seem like the appropriate place to mention that. So far, you've all done a pretty good job at messing up your life, said Mr. Padansky. I know you think you're cool. He looked at Stanley. So you're a caveman now, huh? You like digging holes, caveman? Stanley didn't know what to say. Well, let me tell you something, caveman. You're here on the count of one person. If it wasn't for that person, you wouldn't be here digging holes in the hot sun. You know who that person is? My no good, darn rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather? The other boys howled with laughter. Even Zero smiled. It was the first time Stanley had ever seen Zero's smile. He usually had such an angry expression on his face. Now he had a huge smile and almost seemed too big for his face, like the smile of a jack-o'-lantern. No, said Mr. Padansky. That person is you, Stanley. You're the reason you're here. You're responsible for yourself. You messed up your life, and it's up to you to fix it. No one else is going to do it for you. For any of you. Mr. Padansky looked from one boy to another. You're all special in your own way. He said, You've all got something to offer. You have to think about what you want to do, then do it. Even you, Zero, you're not completely worthless. The smile was now gone from Zero's face. What do you want to do with your life? Mr. Padansky asked him. Zero's mouth was shut tight. As he glared at Mr. Padansky, his dark eyes seemed to expand. What about it, Zero? Asked Mr. Padansky. What do you like to do? I like to dig holes. All right, that is it. We made it to chapter 13. As proof, I will show you. There it is. We will continue this story. I think this is Wednesday's novel study that we just did, so that'll be for Thursday. We'll continue. I'll find out the chapters then. I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe I'll do a different background, although I do really like this one. It is very cool to just like look up and I see all these people staring at me. All right, I'll stop. All right, guys, please enjoy. I'll see you guys on Zoom and take care. Thank you.